is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
It is 5 o'clock here on your Friday. Good morning to you. I'm Lauren Casey. Here's what's making headlines on this July 17th. Conservation officers have identified potential crimes in a reported racist attack down in Monroe County. This morning, we're looking at how the case progresses forward. Plus,
we continue to learn new things about this virus.
Information surrounding the coronavirus is constantly evolving. Working for you, we're looking at if that information you are seeing is accurate. And the coronavirus continues to impact thousands of Hoosiers. This morning, one first responder shares their battle back from the virus. But first, we do need to get a check of your Storm Team 6 forecast on this Friday. Todd Klossman is standing by right now from home. Todd, good morning to you. What can folks expect as they head out on the roads to work this morning?
You know, the first thing, especially if you live in northern locations, Lauren, is the potential for some dense fog in your neighborhood. And as you get on the roadways, it's not a huge issue as of right now in the metro area, as you can see, with the visibility of 6 miles. But that's actually down with the update from the top of the hour. And you notice Lafayette and Muncie only at a quarter mile. And then you see those dark shaded areas outside of the actual reports, which are coming from airports. And the visibility is even lower. So you have to give yourself some extra time as the skies continue to clear in the metro area. I would expect those visibilities to drop as well. So fog is our first concern this morning. And then otherwise, we don't really have too many concerns, at least throughout the morning hours, with temperatures that are in the 60s. Here are those clouds that are in the process of clearing out. Once they do move out, we are looking at a beautiful day. That's a picture of Brown County State Park. That'd be a great place to be later on this afternoon. 81 degrees by the time we get to the noon hour. Highs right around 90. Humidity's up a little bit today, but it's not super high, at least compared to where it will be over the weekend. More on that forecast coming up in just a little bit, Lauren.
Todd, thank you. Let's take a look right now at traffic as you're heading out on the roads. This is I-70, a little west of FedEx, and you can see traffic here is moving along up to speed in both directions. Keep in mind, we still have westbound lanes of I-70 closed between the south split over to the west side, so you can use I-465 and the collector ramps to get around that closure, and that will last through July 28th. Of course, we'll keep you updated. Looks like everything out here is traveling up to speed at this early hour. Of the thousands of COVID-19 cases in our state, several have been among the first responders who are on the front lines working to help those in our community. Our Alyssa Donovan spoke to a firefighter who has since recovered from the virus, and he has a message for the public.
Due to their interaction with the public, first responders are more vulnerable when it comes to COVID-19. And we spoke with one firefighter who's recently recovered from catching the virus.
Back in March, Deputy Chief Mark Google woke up early one morning with a headache and a fever. He quickly went to get tested, which came back positive for COVID-19.
In that first week, it was like the worst cold or flu that I've had ever. It was just, my bones ached. I had a fever. I would fall asleep with just chills and covered with blankets and wake up in a puddle of sweat. And that just went, and then I'd feel better. The next day I'd feel better, and then the day after that it got worse. So it just kind of came back worse every time. All the typical, lost my sense of taste and smell and all that stuff that you hear, that's all true.
His wife Jennifer also ended up getting the virus. Google started to get a dry cough after the first week and went to the hospital.
They actually did a CT on my lungs, and it showed that I had pneumonia in all my lung fields. We were struggling to keep my SATs up, so they admitted me, and I spent about a week in the hospital with pneumonia.
He's one of 2 Carmel firefighters who have been hospitalized for COVID. There have been 17 cases total within the department. 10 of those who came back positive for the virus showed no symptoms at all, which is why the fire chief says it's vital their crews are getting tested weekly.
And I do believe that it has helped to slow the spread of this virus throughout our community. When we do have a positive case, we reach out, we retrace through contact tracing, and we alert other people in the fire service, other people at the fire stations, to let them know that there was a positive case.
Google says it took about a month before he felt well enough to come back to work. As someone who has recovered from the virus, he says he wants people to take it seriously, especially when it comes to the efforts of wearing a mask.
It's not about protecting yourself. It is about that, but it's a lot more about protecting all the other people that are around you.
I'm Alyssa Donovan, RTV6.
Alyssa, thank you. This morning, 735 more Hoosiers have been diagnosed with the coronavirus since this pandemic began. We know that more than 54,000 Hoosiers have been diagnosed. So the Department of Health is also reporting 10 new deaths as of yesterday, and more than 2,600 people in Indiana have died from COVID-19. In the last 5 months, we've done countless stories on COVID-19 and the impact it's having on Hoosiers. Despite all of these stories, there are still some who want to do their own research to see if the virus is as serious as those in the medical community say that it is. So this morning, our Kelsey Anderson is joining us live with a tool that can help you do that. Kelsey, good morning.
Hey, good morning. So we have talked to doctors and nurses, survivors and family members grieving a lost loved one. But there is a way that you can do your own research on COVID-19 and the data surrounding it. So this is a look at the Regent Street COVID-19 dashboard. Through his work with Regent Street Institute and Fairbanks School of Public Health at IUPUI, Dr. Brian Dixon and his colleagues realized they had access to all sorts of information the public was asking about. The COVID-19 dashboard has a breakdown for things like age, race, and sex. You can see how many tests have been given in the state, and of those, how many were positive. This information is updated every 24 hours.
The reason we created it is because at the beginning of this pandemic, many people wanted to know information about, where the virus was happening in the state and how many people were hospitalized.
According to the website, they are getting their data from the Indiana Network for Patient Care, the Indiana State Department of Health Labs, and the Michiana Health Information Network. Dixon says that the data speaks for itself, and he's hoping that Hoosiers will step up and start wearing masks when they're out and about to hopefully slow the spread of COVID-19. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, RTV6.
Kelsey, thank you. It is 5:07 this morning. Dropping tax collections caused by the coronavirus pandemic have delivered a major hit to the state's budget reserves. State officials say the impact adds up to $850 million, or about 37% drop from last year. Budget officials expect steep spending cuts in the coming years. The state has not laid off any employees, but a widespread hiring freeze is in effect. Officials have also asked most agencies to cut 15% of their spending. This morning, state investigators say there is evidence of multiple crimes in connection to an alleged racist attack down at Lake Monroe. There are several videos showing part of what happened. Fox Booker says a group of white men pinned him against a tree, shouting racial slurs, and threatened to lynch him. That happened back on July 4th. An attorney representing one of the men, Sean Purdy, says Booker instigated a confrontation and the men merely restrained him. According to recommendations from the Department of Natural Resources, Purdy and Booker are among those that could face charges, including battery. However, no charges have been filed. The Monroe County Prosecutor's Office is now reviewing this evidence. You can find more details on this story and from the DNR report by downloading the RTV6 News app. The Iowa meth kingpin who kidnapped and killed 5 people to prevent his prosecution for drug trafficking is set to become the 3rd federal inmate to be executed this week. 52-year-old Dustin Hunkin will become the first defendant from Iowa to die from capital punishment since 1963 if his lethal injection takes place as scheduled. Hunkin has been on death row in Terre Haute since 2005. Iowa abolished the death penalty in 1965, but federal prosecutors sought the punishment against Hunkin because of the horrific nature of his crimes. This week, federal executions have been the first since 2003. This morning, a former Mooresville police officer is facing 8 felony perjury charges. Investigators say Mark Bailey didn't follow protocol when making arrests and completing records. According to state troopers and a special prosecutor, there were discrepancies in the probable cause affidavits that Bailey completed in cases involving drugs and alcohol. A special prosecutor has to dismiss the charges in those cases. Bailey is expected to appear in court next week. A new program called Resources in the Park is another effort to reduce crime here in Indianapolis. It's specifically aimed at helping young people. Representatives from local organizations that provide youth resources have been meeting in parks all across the city, making connections and letting people know about different services that are available to them.
A lot of people don't even know of the resources that are available, so you don't even know you have this need, but we can say that we can provide it anyway, so it is nice.
So we've got to find avenues to get them involved in more positive things and show them that there are other opportunities.
Well, one of those positive opportunities is the city's Safe Summer program. It provides chaperoned activities for young people ages 13 and older, including sports, games, movies, and more. The program runs through August 14th every Friday evening from 7 to 10 at Bethel Park, the Community Alliance of the Far East Side, and Municipal Gardens. Well, Hiring Hoosiers is connecting you to job opportunities as the pandemic continues. FedEx says it is coming to Johnson County after all. The company initially announced plans for a distribution facility near the I-65 Worthville Road interchange 3 years ago. 1 year later, FedEx said that it has made a data-driven decision to not build at that location. But now the shipping giant says it will open a distribution center out in Greenwood, and it plans to open by the holiday rush. FedEx says the facility will hire about 100 full-time workers and about 400 part-time workers. The time right now is 5:10. Let's toss things over to Todd for a look at our Friday forecast. Hey, Todd.
Hey, Lauren, it's a good forecast overall for us today with sunshine and temperatures that may be a little warm for some of you as we get close to 90 degrees, but it is the middle of summer. Our immediate concern, though, this morning is some patchy, dense fog. These visibilities have been fluctuating quite a bit, but just know, especially north of Indianapolis, your visibilities for the most part are a mile or less, so that's when you start to run into some issues. Half mile in Terre Haute, so be aware of that. In the metro area, it's not terrible right now, but that band of cloud cover as it pushes to the south and the skies clear will help to allow some fog to settle in to spots. So just be a little bit careful if you do have to get on the roadways. Temperatures will hover around 70 this morning. Once the sun comes up, any fog that is out there will burn off very, very quickly. And then we are left with mostly sunny skies this afternoon. The humidity's up there a little bit as we work our way throughout the course of the day today, but it's not super high with high temperatures anywhere from about 87 to 90 degrees. Lauren.
Todd, thank you. This morning, hackers are trying to prevent the creation of a coronavirus vaccine. Straight ahead, the organization's being targeted. Plus, the coronavirus pandemic put a major financial strain on rural hospitals. So just after the break, how the financially strapped hospitals are preparing for a new surge in cases. It's 5:12. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. California state investigators have determined that power lines started last year's devastating Kincaid fire. On Thursday, the state's Department of Forestry and Fire Protection said electrical transmission lines owned and operated by Pacific Gas and Electricity ignited the fire. 4 people were hurt in the fire that burned nearly 80,000 acres. Last year, PG&E filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and agreed to pay $13.5 billion to victims affected by several recent wildfires. Russian cyber attackers are targeting organizations involved in developing COVID-19 vaccines. That's according to the security officials from the U.S., UK, and Canada. In May, the 3 countries issued a warning of cyber attacks against organizations involved in the coronavirus response. Officials say hospitals, research laboratories, healthcare providers, and pharmaceutical companies have all been hit. The group also believes to have interfered in the 2016 U.S. election. Rural hospitals became financially strained after buying PPE, preparing for a flood of COVID-19 patients. Alex Liaco tells us that one medical center that's still anxiously awaiting a surge in their ER.
Nurses are on standby. This is a special order. The ICU is stocked.
We're ready to go.
But Duncan Regional Hospital is still waiting.
We saw cases increasing. At this point, hasn't come to Duncan quite like we expected.
As coronavirus cases overload emergency rooms across the country, this rural hospital has only seen a handful of cases.
I see you, this floor.
But the fear of what would happen if that surge came looms over the staff.
The most difficult thing is that there's not a lot of backup. So I'm the only pulmonologist here in Duncan.
So they've gathered PPE, preparing for the worst.
It used to actually be a storage room for our gift shop. Now we've turned it into our PPE storage room.
Chief Nursing Officer Kristen Webb says it's been tougher to get critical supplies as a smaller hospital.
The last time we were able to receive N95s was probably in December.
When she could find supplies, she spent every penny she could to make sure staff would be safe.
We probably spent close to $1 million on equipment, PPE, or other supplies and equipment towards a pandemic that we didn't fully realize at this point.
That massive expense made harder because the hospital had to cancel all elective procedures and appointments.
Rural hospitals in particular are financially strained. When everything else shut down, when businesses shut down, our elective procedures shut down. So there is a financial burden that the hospital had to bear.
The burden extends past these walls to Jefferson County Hospital. Duncan Regional helps this critical access hospital stay open. It's a facility with only 18 beds that was on the verge of shutting down just a couple years ago.
We don't have the advanced diagnostics. We don't have access to the specialists.
But if the pandemic spreads, this is the place people will turn to.
We can't let our guard down.
Because even if it's quiet now, that can change in an instant. I'm Alexa Liacco.
All right. Thank you, Alexa. As we walk our way out the door here this morning, we're walking out to some humid conditions, and we're going to be dealing with this heat and humidity over the course of the next couple days. And that's going to factor into some pretty high heat index values as we get into the afternoon hours. Not so much today, but especially as we get into, I think, Saturday and Sunday. Those heat index values could be getting up to 100 to 105 degrees as the actual high temperatures get up to right around 95. Today, though, we're a little closer to that 90-degree mark for your high temperature. Now, the view from downtown to the north shows a little bit of reduced visibility. The visibility itself in Indianapolis isn't bad at all at 6.2 miles. But as you look to the north, that's where we're running into some pretty good issues with reduced visibility from Fishers to Kokomo. Only a 1/10 of a mile there up in Howard County, a half mile in Crawfordsville, half mile in Portland as well, 3/10 of a mile in the Muncie area. And then as we slide to the south, visibility is reduced a little bit, but not terrible from Bloomington over towards Columbus. But just know that they could change as we work our way throughout the course of the morning hours. The visibilities are the lowest there, as you saw in northern locations, because that's where the skies have cleared. Where the clouds are still present, that's where we're dealing with the visibilities that are a little bit better. And so just know, especially as you cross off the miles, as I always tell you, on the interstates with the higher rates of speed, as you work your way up 65 and 69 from Indianapolis, just know those visibilities can change pretty quickly. As far as rain goes, that is out of here. No threat of rain really in the forecast today. There could be a spot storm in southern locations later on this evening. Otherwise, temperatures this morning are in the 60s. We're on our way up to highs in the upper 80s for everybody. I think some locations, including Indianapolis, get pretty close to that 90-degree mark later on this afternoon. And as far as the humidity goes, you'll notice it today, but it's not super humid, at least compared to what we're going to see as we work our way into the days ahead. So tomorrow we're up to 93 degrees. Sunday, 94 degrees with about a 30% chance of a pop-up storm in the afternoon. But look at that heat index value on Sunday, all the way up to 105 degrees. So Sunday is going to be the day that is going to be the most oppressive as far as the heat and the humidity goes with those high heat index values. And then as we work our way into next week, it's pretty unsettled with some fronts around, but it remains very warm and muggy with high temperatures that'll be in the upper 80s to low 90s. I know you see a lot of thunderstorm icons there. No day, Lauren, though, will be a complete washout.
All right, good to know, Todd. Thank you so much. Let's take a look at traffic as you're heading out on the roads this Friday morning. This is I-65 and State Road 267 to our northwest, where traffic is moving along up to speed, both northbound and southbound. No crashes right now around the metro area in central Indiana to slow down your commute. But of course, we'll continue to keep our eye on things and keep you updated on any delays. This morning, those needing help in a mental emergency will have a quicker way to potentially get life-saving help. This week, the Federal Communications Commission approved a 3-digit code as a link to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. The ruling allows services to provide this Connect 988 to the hotline. The FCC says the 3-digit number will save lives, similar to when 911 was implemented. The new number must be active by July 16th, 2022. Well, are you a fan of Rose, Blanche, Dorothy, and Sophia? If so, you could live in sitcom history. Just after the break, the golden price tag for this TV icon. We'll be right back. So are you a Golden Girls fan? Now you can buy the iconic house that Blanche, Rose, Sophia, and Dorothy all shared. But buyer beware, it's not really in Miami like the much-loved 80s comedy is. It's in Brentwood, California. The other catch, the modest mid-century ranch, it's going to cost you nearly $3 million. Hollywood used real exteriors of the house in the first season of the TV series, which was set in South Florida. But when the series starring B. Arthur and Betty White became a mega hit, an exact replica was built on a studio backlot. Looks pretty cool, Todd. All right, what can we expect in our forecast for today as people are kicking off their Friday?
Yeah, you know, as you walk out the door this morning, visibility is an issue for us, and I keep watching and pointing out these visibilities because they keep changing. Bloomington, just a little while ago, you were at a 4-mile visibility, and look, you've just dropped down to a 1/4-mile visibility, 1/4 mile as well in Lafayette. Indianapolis has come down a little bit from where they were. It's still not terrible in the metro area, but it's changing, and it's changing in not a good direction. So visibility will be an issue for us here this morning through sunrise, which is about an hour away, and then we'll start to burn that fog off pretty quickly. Temperatures today anywhere from about 87 to 90 degrees. It'll feel more like 95 degrees though as you factor in the humidity. Then the temperatures continue to warm into the weekend as highs eventually get into that 95-degree range by Sunday.
Todd, thank you. An Indianapolis father is turning his pain into passion. Coming up at 5:30, his mission to help others' families that are impacted by gun violence. It's 5:27. We'll be right back.
This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
Indianapolis city leaders are taking steps to increase public safety. Now at 5:30, we're breaking down the new plan to keep Hoosiers in the Circle City safe.
And Lauren, where can you get accurate and up-to-date data on how the coronavirus is impacting Indiana? Our Kelsey Anderson joins us live with details on a database that makes it easy for you to stay informed every single day.
It is 5:30 here on our Friday TGIF. Raphael, you're joining us from down in Johnson County. Good morning to you.
Lauren, good morning to you, and good morning to you, Todd. Todd, I did step outside just a few moments ago. I can't tell if the fog is a big issue here in Johnson County, but I can tell you that it feels much cooler than yesterday.
Yeah, you know, fog not a huge issue in the metro area down into Johnson County as of right now. But if you go north of Indianapolis, that's where the fog is really settled in. And you're right, Raphael, it's running a little bit cooler and also a little less humid this morning than it was yesterday morning. These visibilities have been fluctuating, so that's why you maybe find it your house in your neighborhood when you first set out on your commute this morning, if you have to do so. And then in other locations, the visibility is pretty low in Lafayette as well as Peru. Down to a 1/4 mile. In between Peru and Kokomo, it's even a little bit lower. So just give yourself some extra time. Here's the view in downtown Indianapolis from IMS, and you could still see the city skyline, but you also notice a little bit of a fog out there. But where the fog is settled in, it's where the skies have cleared in northern locations, where there's a little more in the way of cloud cover. The fog not as prevalent, but that could change as this band of cloud cover makes its way out of the area. Whether you're seeing the fog or not, it'll burn off very quickly here this morning once the sun comes up. Official sunrise just about an hour away. 81 degrees by the noon hour. It's mostly sunny, hot, and somewhat muggy here this afternoon. The humidity really comes up during the day tomorrow and into the day on Sunday. But you'll notice it today if you're out and about as that high temperature eventually, Lauren, tops off right around 90 degrees.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Let's take a look right now at traffic. This is over on the east side, I-465 and I-70, the interchange there. You can see everything's traveling smoothly, still pretty quiet for your Friday morning commute. We'll continue to keep our eyes on your roads and keep you updated on any crashes or delays.
The men and the women of IMPD, the men and the women of our Office of Public Health and Safety, and thousands of community members remain steadfastly committed to abolishing violence in our city.
Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett and Police Chief Randall Taylor say that they've heard your concerns about public safety and now they are ready to take action. On Thursday, officials give a snapshot of the state of crime in the Circle City, and it's not pretty. They say murder numbers on non-fatal shootings have increased at a rapid pace. Officials say they are committed to maintaining a focus on so-called crime hotspots around Indianapolis. Mayor Joe Hogsett laid out what he calls a multi-department approach that includes IMPD, DPW, the Office of Public Health and Safety, and the Department of Metropolitan Development. Here's what that will all look like. IMPD officers will spend a specific amount of time in hotspot areas of their beats that are assigned. They'll be connecting to neighbors and making their presence visible. A radio and social media campaign will also promote violence prevention programs and resources available. And the Office of Public Safety is partnering with the Domestic Violence Network to provide hotel stays, food vouchers, and other advocacy services for victims of domestic violence. Mayor Hogsett says that the cameras are also being installed along the canal.
And Lauren, as city leaders focus on public safety, families impacted by the violence, they're hoping to make a difference this morning and every single day. Craig Joseph's son, Christopher C.J. Joseph, he was shot and killed back in 2016. He was just 26 years old. After struggling to overcome his grief, Craig decided to help other families. He started the Hoffa Foundation 3 years ago. He meets with families who are in the same situation, and he and others help through financial donations. The foundation also works to put a stop to the violence. Next Saturday, they will hold a panel on gun violence that will include 3 different cities: Chicago, New York, and Indianapolis.
So our purpose is to talk about some of the best practices in each one of those cities, because these are critical hotspots, because anybody can be shot at any given time. That's what you're seeing across the country. So we really have to be advocates for ourselves and our families first, and then protect one another when we see such violent acts happening.
For more information on the panel, you can go to our website, theindychannel.com, and click on this story.
It is 5:35, turning now to the rising number of coronavirus cases in our state. The state health department reports 735 new cases of COVID-19. Since the pandemic began in March, 54,080 Hoosiers have been diagnosed with the coronavirus. 10 new Hoosier deaths were also reported on Thursday, totaling 2,602 people in Indiana. That many have died from the virus. More than 595,000 Hoosiers have been tested so far for COVID-19. 9.1% of those tests are coming back positive. There is some good news to report. State leaders say 15% of all positive cases are currently leading to hospitalizations, which is actually down slightly from last week. Our hospital surge capacity remains strong, with 35.5% of open ICU beds and 84% of the ventilators available in our state. Governor Holcomb and state leaders are closely monitoring these numbers, as well as testing and contact tracing as guidance on how to quickly move forward with the Back on Track reopening plan. Indiana is currently at stage 4.5, which is expected to last through the end of the month. Here at 5:36, the coronavirus has consumed our lives. People have shown an appetite for doing their own research as well. But where do you go to get the best and most accurate information, Raphael?
That's a question that many people are asking this morning. And this morning, our Kelsey Anderson joins us with the tool that can help you do your research the best way possible. Kelsey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Raphael. So yeah, there is a lot of people who want to do their own research, and now there is a place you can go and find basically anything you want to know about COVID-19 and the statistics surrounding it. So this is the Regent Strieff COVID-19 dashboard. Through his work with Regent Strieff Institute and Fairbanks School of Public Health at IUPUI, Dr. Brian Dixon and his colleagues realized they had access to all sorts of information the public was asking about. That's why they created this COVID-19 dashboard. It has a breakdown of things like age, race, and sex. You can also see how many tests have been given in the state, and of those, how many were positive. This information is updated every 24 hours.
That's why we created the dashboard, was to take information that was coming in electronically in the state and being able to rapidly make it available so that people could track the disease.
According to the website, they are getting their data from several different places, including the Indiana Network for Patient Care, the Indiana State Department of Health Labs, and the Michiana Health Information Network. Now, Dixon says that this data is speaking for itself, and he's asking Hoosiers to mask up and hopefully slow the spread of COVID-19. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, RTV 6.
Kelsey, thank you so much. As you know, first responders, they're on duty 24/7. They can't stay at home, so they face the daily risks of COVID-19. Alyssa Donovan takes us on the road to recovery for one first responder.
And we spoke with one firefighter who's recently recovered from catching the virus.
Back in March, Deputy Chief Mark Google woke up early one morning with a headache and a fever. He got tested for COVID-19 and it came back positive. His wife Jennifer also caught the virus. Google eventually was hospitalized after catching pneumonia. He's one of 2 Carmel firefighters hospitalized for COVID-19. There have been 17 cases total within the department. 10 of those who came back positive for the virus showed no symptoms at all, which is why fire crews say it's important they are getting tested weekly. However, Google says his symptoms were very prominent.
In that first week, it was like the worst cold or flu that I've had ever. It was just, my bones ached. I had a fever. I would fall asleep with just chills and covered with blankets and wake up in a puddle of sweat. And that just went, and then I'd feel better. The next day I'd feel better, and then the day after that it got worse. So it just kind of came back worse every time. All the typical, lost my sense of taste and smell and all that stuff that you hear, that's all true.
He's since recovered and is back at work. But as someone who experienced the virus firsthand, he wants everyone to take it seriously, especially when it comes to the efforts of wearing a mask. I'm Alyssa Donovan, RTV 6.
Alyssa, thank you. It is 5:39. The city's rental assistance program has gotten off to a really brisk start. The program helps people pay their rent if their jobs were impacted by the pandemic. It just launched on Monday, and already more than 10,000 applications have been submitted. Due to the high volume within a short period of time, that website has switched over to a waiting list while existing applications are processed. Processing is anticipated to last through next week. You can still submit your contact information to be notified when the site resumes taking applications. At 5:40, let's check in with Todd and our Friday forecast.
And Lauren, it's a decent forecast for us. We just have to get through a couple hours here this morning with some patchy, dense fog. So be aware of that as you walk out the door. Temperatures this morning are sitting in the 60s, and that's where we'll stay for a few hours until we can get rid of this fog. And the sun will burn it off pretty quickly once it does come up. And then temperatures will start to moderate. In fact, by the time we get to the noon hour, we're already looking at temperatures that will be in the low 80s. And at that point, skies will be mostly sunny. High temperatures eventually this afternoon top off at 90 degrees. Turns into a great pool day. The UV index, though, high with all the sunshine out there. But certainly the pool will be a nice way to cool off if you have one available in your neighborhood. As far as storms go, very, very small chance today, and that's only in some extremely southern locations, so you don't have to worry about lightning if you're either at the pool or at a lake. Get in the water and cool off. Temperatures will be in the mid-90s by Sunday. More on that forecast in just a few minutes.
Todd, thank you so much. We will take your pool advice. The number of COVID-19 cases rising in at least 40 states. Straight ahead, the latest from across the country.
And retailers are reporting increased sales for the second month in a row, coming up why some industry experts say the boom in business could be short-lived. It is 5:41. Stick around. We'll be right back. It is 5:44. Welcome back. The coronavirus pandemic here in America continues to worsen. Yesterday, Florida and Texas reporting their deadliest days yet.
And Lauren, with cases rising in about 40 states, the month of July already seen as the worst for the number of cases since this pandemic began. ABC's Ines Lacuetera has the latest from Washington.
Overnight, Florida seeing its worst day yet. 156 deaths in just the last day. Miami hospitals now 95% full.
As an ICU nurse, I beg you to take this virus seriously.
And the mayor warning,
if something is not done to dramatically alter our course, we could be in a more dire situation.
Texas also seeing its deadliest day, the virus taking the life of Annalise Long, a 47-year-old mother of triplets.
That was the hardest thing. Is that she gave it her all.
And in Arizona, officials ordering refrigerated trucks as they run out of room in morgues. Deaths climbing in 27 states as nearly half the country either pauses or reverses reopening. The nation's top infectious disease expert telling Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg that the U.S. is a mixed bag right now, with some areas doing better than others. Dr. Anthony Fauci also with a warning to younger people causing the spread.
That you have to have responsibility for yourself, that you're getting infected is not just you in a vacuum. You're propagating a pandemic.
This as the debate over masks continues. The governors of Colorado and Arkansas, who both previously opposed statewide mask orders, are now reversing course. But Georgia's governor banning those efforts and now suing the mayor of Atlanta for requiring people in her city to wear masks.
What the scientists are telling us is that the right thing to do is to wear a mask. I'll put our policies up against anyone's any day of the week.
And now major retailers like Target, CVS, and Walgreens are joining Walmart, Kroger's, and Kohl's in requiring customers to wear face masks in all their stores. Inez de la Cuetara, ABC News, Washington.
It is 5:47. We know they make a difference in reducing the spread of COVID-19, but there is a downside to wearing a face mask. They can have an impact on your skin. As masks become part of our everyday lives, more people are reporting irritation, breakouts, redness, or mask knee. Dr. Kathy Fields, the dermatologist behind Proactive and Rodenenfield's skincare line, say that there are some things you can do to help.
Start with the over-the-counter with a sal acid cleanser in the morning and a 2.5 benzoyl peroxide at night, and not just the spot, but the full zone. The secret, stay on it to stay clear. If you stop using it, the bumps just come right back.
Dr. Fields also says to avoid makeup as they can make things worse. She also says if you're wearing a cotton mask, you need to wash it frequently. Right now, let's get a check of our forecast and a check of the visibility out there this morning, Todd.
Yeah, you know, we have this thin layer of fog that's out there this morning across parts of the area, Lauren. It's a little worse, as you can see, to the north. Not as bad here in the metro area where the visibility is still over 6 miles. But let me take you into some northern locations. Portland over in Jay County, virtually no visibility. 0.3 of a mile in Frankfort, 0.2 of a mile in Crawfordsville, as well as Lafayette. So that impacts both Interstate 65 as well as Interstate 74 there through Montgomery County. Cloverdale, 0.3 of a mile right along I-70. And as we slide to the south, Bloomington, 0.3 of a mile currently. And so these visibilities have been fluctuating this morning. So I pointed out the interstates because those are the roads, obviously, that you drive at a higher rate of speed. So just know that the visibilities will fluctuate a little bit. But you can see just how thin this layer of fog is as you look from downtown to the north. Above that layer of fog, you notice all the clear skies here. So it's going to burn off very, very quickly once the sun gets higher above the horizon. Obviously, skies starting to brighten already. Sunrise officially this morning, though, not until 6:32. The skies are clearing, and that's why we've had the fog in northern locations. Once the skies clear, the air cools, and you get closer to those dew point temperatures, and the fog settled in. What we don't have this morning is any storms. Those are all off to our south and to our east. Temperature-wise, we are in the 60s right now, 63 in Peru, 65 in Bloomington, so it's more comfortable this morning temperature-wise, and there's some humidity out there, but it's not terrible. And throughout the day, you'll notice the humidity, but it's not going to be that oppressive or stifling humidity that we'll get into, I think, especially by Sunday afternoon. So while it's still warm for maybe many of you today with a high of 90 degrees, it gets worse heading into the weekend. It's Friday night. You may have plans. Temperatures will fall from the mid-80s down into the 70s as we work our way into the 10 o'clock hour. For your weekend, 93 on Saturday, 94 on Sunday. Both days feature just a very small chance of a stray storm popping up in the peak heating of the day. Do not bank on or alter your plans because of the storm threat. Do alter your plans, though, because of these heat index values, which could be as high as 105 degrees over the weekend. Drink plenty of water. Stay hydrated. You will work up a sweat very quickly if you are outdoors. Even if you're not really doing a workout, or you're just outdoors, just walking around or sitting outside, you'll be working up a sweat. Better storm chances work their way in Monday through Thursday of next week with temperatures in the 80s and 90s.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. You mentioned some visibility issues out there. And here's a look at where you can see some of the fog on our camera at I-465 at Harding Street, State Road 37 down there on the south side. Traffic is still traveling up to speed, though, both eastbound and westbound on 465 there, so that is good news. We will continue to keep a close eye on your roads throughout the morning and keep you updated. Raphael?
Lauren, there's some good news for retailers this morning. Sales are up for the second straight month, with shoppers now trickling back into stores. But there's a but in all of this. According to the Commerce Department, in June, those retail sales were up 7.5%. That's on top of the 18.2% jump in May. But here's the but. Industry experts say the recovery may be short-lived. You see, as jobless claims continue to increase, many consumers may be willing to spend less as additional unemployment benefits are set to run out in the coming days.
If you're looking for a way to cool off this summer, Raphael, Holiday World has just the thing. The new water coaster is launching, and you can be one of the first to ride it. We have your chance to win tickets. That's coming up here at 6 o'clock. The time right now is 5:52. We'll be right back. Raphael, baseball is back at Victory Field. The home of the Indianapolis Indians hosted the College Summer League All-Star Game on Thursday.
And RTV6's Brad Brown explains why players are grateful for this league in this morning's Sports Extra Spotlight.
The boys of summer are getting a second chance to salvage something of a season.
It gets a little chippy sometimes between teams and everything, but definitely it's a fun atmosphere for sure. I know that from my friends that also play in the league, it's definitely like something that where we have that still competitive edge and everything, but all around it's a fun time.
Westfield's Grand Park is hosting the College Summer League, a dozen teams filled with around 400 players, largely from Central Indiana and the Midwest.
Getting that, the information that they weren't going to be playing ball and then getting this response back, they were definitely excited to have a place to play. A lot of the guys enjoyed the way we've gone about it. Instead of playing 70 games, we're getting everyone 30 games.
From Division I talent down through to the junior college ranks, all of these players share the common thread of having their original spring plans to play canceled by COVID-19.
It means a lot to me because I was originally going to go down to the Prospect League down south in Terre Haute, Indiana, and just the ability to actually come out here and actually play at Grand Park. I mean, I live 20 minutes right down the road, so it's nice to be on great facilities and all that other stuff.
A handful of these guys will be getting strong looks from Major League scouts. For many of them, though, it's simply a chance to be on the field, when that prospect seemed grim just a few months ago.
We focus all of our program on training, so we're not over pitching anyone, we're not overplaying anyone. We have trainers on staff that assist them at our indoor facility.
We've gravitated towards some college baseball, and now without not having any Indians games, and to be able to bring some of these college kids out, give them a unique experience, all-star game, regular season game, and then a championship game, we feel really good about it.
The now common threads of playing during a pandemic are easy to spot around Grand Park.
We have to continuously remind people, hey, follow these guidelines, listen to us. We're trying to keep everybody safe here.
But once they step between the lines, it's just baseball.
Once we get on the field, before the game during BP, we'll joke around a little bit. Once we get on the field, it's like down to business. It's like, hey, we want to be the best team.
In Westfield, Brad Brown, RTV6 Sports.
All right, thank you, Brad. It's good to see the boys of summer back on the field to an extent here in Central Indiana. It's good to see some baseball up at Grand Park and Victory Field as well. So it'd be great to take in some of those games if possible. As far as today's forecast, as you walk out the door, we're starting off with a little bit of patchy fog. Temperatures are in the 60s. The fog will burn off very, very quickly, and we'll be left with lots of sunshine here throughout the day today. Not super muggy. It's enough that you'll feel with a high temperature of 90 degrees going into the mid to upper 90s as we work our way into the weekend.